Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and we are finally here at the release of BT12, and by finally I mean, oh my gosh, we're already at BT12 and I've barely made any content for it. So to compensate for that, I'm making this video dropping pretty much all the deck lists I've been working on the last couple weeks. I wouldn't say any of them are particularly polished or like 100% competitive ready, but I do think that they are a really good like first step into understanding what this meta is going to look like and just having an example deck list to start with, so you can start making your own kind of personal choices and making your own builds for a lot of these. So real quick, if you guys don't know about my website either, please make sure to check it out in the description. It's where I've been putting all of my events and all of the events I've been covering and deck lists and stuff for this. So make sure to check that out. We're obviously going to be continuing to update this with BT13, and I really want it to be a really good resource for anyone trying to get into the Digimon card game. So make sure to check that out. Also, I've been working really hard on all of my card game content for the past couple weeks. So if you haven't hit that like and subscribe button, please do that. I would really appreciate that. It would mean a lot to me. But we're going to go on into this video. And again, we've made a couple pieces of content, including like a tier list, which you can check out right here. But we do have two other deck lists that I did make videos for before the release of it. So one was Shine Gray, which I think this is an okay archetype. I think at least right now, I think it's going to be better as we get further into this card game. It's kind of missing like a little bit of the niceness from it, but we'll see how it goes. I enjoy playing it. I think it gets a little bit when I tested it, it got like a little bit worse the more I tested with it, but I think it's a really strong deck, and again, they're going to be supporting it more, so be on the lookout for that one, as well as the Hunter one. Again, if you guys want any of these actual like in-depth videos, they are on the channel as well. But Hunters, I think, is definitely going to be played. There are a couple ways to play this deck in general too, but very strong. It's kind of like Crossheart, but not like as tamer dependent and kind of more flexible in what you're doing in the first place. And I think it has a lot of power with it too. So really fun deck, and I like this one a lot personally. So make sure to check out this one as well. But going into our first new deck list, it is the Beelzemon X, which did get a new kind of X antibody line in this this format in general. So it's a really, there's enough pieces for this deck that you actually get to choose which ones you like more, and you have to actually make the decisions, because usually in this card game, you get an archetype and you have to pretty much run all the cards that they made for it, because you have to have that consistency and just kind of pad it out from there. We are kind of at this spot where you have so many different cards that filled so many different spots that you have to choose to get under that 50 card limit there. So that's where we're at here, and so we're going to look through all the lines. So first we have the rookies, and I'd say that the Impmon from EX2 and the one from Starter Deck 14 are the two best ones. You definitely want to run these at 4. Being able to mill more with this one's really good, and being able to warp Digivolve into a Beelzemon is just really, really good for this one. So I think both of these are really great. And then we do have the X Antibody, which is new. It doesn't count as an Impmon straight up, because most of these effects say specifically an Impmon, not Impmon in its name. So you do have to be careful with that, having a little bit of negative synergy. But being able to cycle with this one, being able to return something to your hand that you need maybe for your line is great. And an extra draw is really great too. And I just chose the Impmon from BT2 just for the additional trashing if you want that. So we have that there. And then we do have obviously Wizardmon and Dobermon, two staples. And then we have the Wizardmon X, which pretty much takes over the spot that Witchmon was running in a lot of BT11 decks for it. So when Digivolving, trash top 2 cards of your deck, and then if Wizardmon or X Antibodies in this Digimon's Evolution cards, it gains blocker instead. So you don't get both, you just get one or the other. But if you go Wizardmon into a Wizardmon X, you'd be able to like do the swinging and being able to put a card on top of your deck if you really want to, which is great. But also having blocker is important for if you're going into the Bowmon. So being able to say when Digivolving, trash top 3, and then also gains on deletion if there are 10 or more cards in your trash. You can play a Beelzemon from your trash without paying its cost until the end of your opponent's turn. Something there. So being able to get blocker with it, since it gains it for the turn, is really good. And then also Wizardmon's great here, and then also we do have the X version of him as well. So when Digivolving, same kind of thing. You can return one X Antibody from your hand, but also you have like 2 effects. And then also when Digivolving, trash top 3 cards of your deck. If this Digimon has the Bowmon or the X Antibodies devolutions, you can delete one of your opponent's level 4 or lower instead. So it's all right there. But then being able to just have these as inheritables here too. So being able to be a 10k, being able to have blocker if you kind of go up the line correctly, and just kind of everything else. Being able to just get your inheritables are kind of nice. And then we do have like the starter deck 14 guys here, and then also the X antibody version. So when digivolving, if this has X antibody or the Beelzemon underneath it, you get to trash top card of your opponent's security stack for every 10 cards in their trash, or sorry, in your trash. So very easy to trash at least one, if not two cards from their security, which trashing for security is a really, really good effect in this game. I don't think that's too surprising there. And then also on deletion, you can play one Digimon with Impmon in its name from your trash without paying its cost. So this can get the X antibody if you want to. It just says in its name. You do have to be careful about other cards here. So this just says you get to play one Impmon from your trash if you mill it, which is why we're not playing in this build. But again, there's a lot of cards you can fill in these spots a lot of the time. I think the rest is pretty understood from that, but just kind of going over the cards. Egg deck is either the Yaman or the Pogumon. I think Yaman's just better because you get the one attacking, which you can proc with if you have Wizardmon with a Wizardmon X antibody Digivolve for free on top of. You get the effects from it, which is really nice. Like being able to put a card on top of your deck and then being able to Yaman to discard it, which is great. And then also we do have these are just cards to consider. I did kind of think about like you can run Cool Boy since your entire line is like this, which includes you can run Gauzy and Gauzy X, which both are great cards for you, especially like when Digivolving, you get to trash top 3 cards of your deck, which is great here. And this just being a memory blocker. So if you want like kind of if you want to use Cool Boy, I don't think it's a bad idea. I just haven't experimented with it a lot. EX2 is pretty strong here, and the Beelstar from Starter Deck 14. So these are just another like level 6s you can definitely run. But again, this is a tight spot for this deck in general. And normally, since we're running the X antibody, I would like to just have only the Beelzemon in the slot there, but it's strong. And then also seventh full cluster from your trash, your turn when one of your Digimon digivolves into the X anti version by returning this, or well, specifically this guy. By returning this card to the bottom of your deck, delete one of your opponent's Digimon at the lowest level, and then you also get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon at the lowest level for main if you decide to use that. So, and you get to just pop something. So this is good, especially like if you want to like help guarantee that you won't mill out and kind of like guarantee another turn. This can be good there too, but you do have to be a little bit careful with all that. So, anyways, that is the build here. And again, there's going to be a bunch of ways to run this, and a lot of like this is going to be a really specific ratio deck for a lot of people, and they're going to have like their 1-ofs and 2-ofs where they want them, and it's going to be a lot of like personal choice, which I think is really cool. But here's my deck at the moment, and I hope you guys enjoyed it there. Next up, we're going to go into EmperorGreymon, and honestly though, like I said that about this deck, but most of the decks we're going to go over today are going to be decks that are just like really personal choice, because we're 12 sets into this game, deep. We're 12 sets deep, not including like the expansion sets and the star decks and everything else. So there's only so many Digimon, so we're kind of starting to recur over a lot of the older formats, and that's kind of what this kind of whole set's all about, with introducing new cards into older formats and making them a little bit stronger. So EmperorGreymon is one of those archetypes. It's a little bit peculiar how this one works. It's more it's not as aggressive. Like every time we get EmperorGreymon, it kind of steps back a little bit more from being like whole hog aggressive to like pretty aggressive to like this is, I'd say, like more mid-range, like more control, and even or just value in a lot of ways too. So we do get like the new Vmon and the new Warmon, both of them being able to have the end of turn DNA from the inheritable is pretty good. Both of them on play also get to essentially search for their tamer and also a card that they need. Then we also have like the new X Vmon being able to when this Digimon DNA digivolves into a green Digimon, you get to gain 1 memory, which means that if you're like your opponent memory chokes you to 1 or something, but you have like a level 4 already out, you can digivolve for 2, you'd pass 1 to your opponent, and then you can DNA and get it back, which is nice. Also the inheritable, it gives jamming, which is just great for you. I'm putting Lydramon because it just seems like it's too good for what it is. Stingmon's great, and then also we're using the new Dino Beat. You can also run the new Pyodramon. I just like the old one a little bit more, but the new Dino Beat being able to, when DNA digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then this gains plus 3k DP for the turn. So essentially this gets to hit over anything of 11k or less, which is pretty great in a lot of ways. And then also when one of your Digimon with EmperorGreymon is same or free deletes an opponent's Digimon and bow, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So that's kind of nice. And then so you don't get like an X antibody, because then if you could combo with this into there, you can't use X antibody, but you can use the Davis effect. So two things. One, starting from main, if you have a Digimon with free trade or tame with Ken in its name, which means essentially this one and this guy, you get to gain 1 memory. And also, when one of your 2 color blue and green Digimon attacks with suspending this tamer, Digivolve that Digimon to a Digimon card with EmperorGreymon in its name from your hand for its devolution cost. So you can go into this guy, which means that you get to, when Digivolving, this has blue Digimon, unsuspend this Digimon, and if it has green, you get to suspend one of your opponents. End of attack, you may Digivolve this into Digimon with EmperorGreymon in its name. When this would happen, you reduce it by 2. So it's a lot of Digivolving. Also, this Digivolves for 3 specifically on top of this guy. But if you are able to use this effect with the Dino B, you get to attack over something, and then you'd be able to get there. And you can also like combo with Beelzemon, and then also the new fighter mode, which is great. And we're also just teching in the Paladin mode because why not? It's probably not super good for the deck, but you can run it, and it's neat, and you can use it for, I believe you can go into this one, right? Yeah, by suspending this, you can go into this mid attack by using Davis on top of one of these swinging too, which is nice. And that's kind of how the day. It's just like a new line, which is neat. It's more kind of like board control centric, which is cool. And I kind of like the more mid range than the hard aggressive version of it. And that's there. I'm also working like an armor build of it. I haven't perfected it. I'm not 100% with it, so it's not going to be in this video. But if you guys want to see what kind of like an armor Imperial, which essentially is a list that I piloted for like a year ago to get my regional invite. I've been trying to dust off that deck again to try to see if it works, and it's been really neat. And again, if you guys want to see it, let me know in the comments. So anyways, that's EmperorGreymon. We got 2 more lists we're going to look over. Next is EmperorGreymon, and I think this is a moderately self-explanatory deck. We just have all of this red hybrid stuff that we've been getting for the last year plus, and we just got a new line for it, so why not just, again, dust it off and see what we think about it. Essentially, we have more flexible, kind of higher end of the Agunimons and Burning Grays. So the new Agunimon, you can Digivolve on, both these get to Digivolve on top of specifically a Takuya for 2, which is nice. And then this has the on deletion, you may play 1 Flamemon suspended from your hand without paying its cost, which you get all of these guys. And then also this has an effect of when Digivolving, it gets plus 2k. And then the inheritable is plus 2k. And also on deletion, inheritable for this one is you can play a Takuya from your hand without paying its memory cost. So it's really nice to get that kind of thing here, and especially since you kind of like have a weird like Digicross effect with Aldamon, where hand during the main by placing 1 Agunimon and 1 Burning Gray from your trash from your trash under one of your Takuyas in any order. Digivolve into this card as the tamer is a level 4, so you get to Digivolve for 3, and then also on deletion, return 1 of your Takuyas from your trash to your hand. So this can get, on deletion, you add a Takuya to your hand, and then on the deletion here, you get to play it from your hand, so that's nice to pretty much, it's weird that it's, it has to be kind of like these specific inheritables, but they want to reward you for going into the lines, and that kind of makes sense there too. You also do have like the Flamedramons that have like the inheritable to play from your hand as well, so that's kind of good here from BT7, and then just everything else. We do also have a new big bad boy, so Security Attack +1. When Digivolving, delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon with 3k DP or less. If this has a red tamer in its evolution cards, delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon with DP less than or equal to this Digimon's DP instead, and then on deletion, you can play a Takuya from your hand or trash, which is great. We do also have the old Takuya, which lets you kind of warp Digivolve into your EmperorGreymon, as long as you have enough pieces in your trash, which should be pretty easy. Then also the Takuya from BT12. So start of your main, you get to gain 3 memory, and then the inheritable is this gains plus 2k DP. When this has 1k or more, it gains your turn. Once per turn, when this Digimon checks your opponent's security stack, you get to gain 2 memory. So being able to get that extra memory can be really nice for you, and can help you get a little bit more of a push for you as well. And I think everything else is understood. We also do have this new Flamemon, which you get to on play by trashing 1 Digimon with hybrid as trades from your hand. You get to draw 2, which not only do you get some more cycle with it, but it just means that if you need to get 5 into your trash with your Takuya effect, that's like the best way to do that. So I do like this guy at 4 right now. But here's my list. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but very, very aggressive deck. Red Hybrid's been doing all right without BT12 support, but I think like the EmperorGreymon is a really interesting build for it, and you get a lot of gas with it too. So there we go there. And lastly, we do have a WarGreymon X. We actually have 2 builds of this deck. We have the WarGreymon X version of it, as well as the Black WarGreymon X version of it. And I wanted to make these 2 builds because, one, you know that there's so many Greymons, Agumons, there's so many lines for these decks and so many cards for it that you are just spoiled with choice on what you want to put in your decks, to the point where you always feel like you want to you want to change the ratios a little bit. There's always a time where there's another card that you want to see and something like that. But I want to just kind of go over both these decks, especially since you can run both these decks, I think, pretty strong as either the red base or the black base for it. And then you can, again, your top end is either like the WarGrey and WarGreyX package if you want. Black WarGreyX, I think, is still very strong in its own right. So we're going to go over this one first and go into the other one as well. But I think WarGreymon X, we do have, again, the new line, which is pretty much all red and black, which is nice. So Agumon here gets to, on play, reveal top 4 to add a Greymon or an Omnimon and a Tamer with tie in its name. So being able to get the 2. So the 2 is on Greymon or Omnimon, and then the other half is the tie in its name without caring what color it is, which is nice. And it's an on play for only 3 cost, which is really nice for that too. Most of the times, like something like this, which is like multiple colors and has like a good inheritable and stuff, like would cost 4, but this costs 3, which is kind of a little under 2, like a little low, which is great. We do have Agumon X, and then I also do like the Agumon from the EX1 set. When attacking, gets to reveal top 3, and then add a Tamer or Digimon with Agumon in its name. So being able to find more rookies or even just Tamers, since they are kind of important, especially since the new Greymon from BT12, when Digivolving, if you don't have a Tamer with tie in its name, you get to play one for free. It doesn't matter what color it is, what cost it is. So we have the memory setter as well as the one here, which lets you start your turn to give Agumon or Greymon plus 1k and blocker, which is great. And then also your turn, when one of your Digimon evolves into a Digimon with Greymon or Omni in its name, you get to suspend this gain of memory. So pretty much all you want to do, like cost reduction, also just giving blocker and plus 1k is kind of nice for you. Not as like important, I'd say, for like this build specifically, but it's kind of nice. We do also have pretty much the rest of the line. So we do have the Metal Greymon. It has Raid, and then also all turns, once return, when this attack target is switched, you can play 1 black or red Tamer with play cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying its cost. Doesn't matter what you have on the board, which is great. Also has an inheritable of giving piercing to your Greymons and Omnimons. This also just has the plus 1k too, so being able to get those stacked buffs are great. And then we also have the new WarGrey. So this also has Raid. This gains plus 3k and reboot when Digivolving, and then also all turns, once return, when this attack target is switched, you get to unsuspend this Digimon. So kind of nice there. And so like the fact that this also gets reboot means that you can use it with like the Metal Greymon X from the BT11 if you want to as well, but we're just being a little bit more aggressive because this Kai is still pretty good and pretty self-explanatory. So this is my upgrade for like a red base of WarGrey X, like the WarGrey X, and then for Black WarGrey X, which you can 100% run this as a red base if you really want to. I just haven't seen the black base as much around, so I've been tinkering with that a little bit more. And there are, I would say, finally enough cards, enough support that it does make sense. It does really sync that Greymon X antibody is at 1. Because it's really great for this one, and it's like we don't have like a black version of Greymon X antibody, at least like the where it digivolves on top of black as easily as like the original Greymon X antibody. So that's like a bit of a miss for this deck. And if you want to run Deltamon, I think that makes sense for you too. But the Agumon X antibody is really nice. On play, when digivolving, you get to do the same thing. Vero top 3, add 1 Greymon or X antibody in its name and 1 black Tamer among them, so you can add either the Tai or the Yuya, which is cool. And then also you place the rest at the bottom, and then also all turns, when this would be deleted, you know, it has like the X antibody protection. So just really good protection with this guy, especially with Greymon X antibody not as around as much. You pretty much get the same protection. So just as long as you have the X antibody underneath it. The Black Agumon from BT8 is fine, being able to add a Greymon or a Dragonkin, which is cool. We talked about this guy. Greymon's okay. We might want to like. He doesn't play he only plays this tie, which is a little bit rough. There are other ties if you guys want to check them out, but I still like the Tamer rate we have here. Another blocker, because we're kind of just forced to run a black Greymon. Like this, the Greymon, like the level 4s is like the only thing I would say is like a little bit weak for the black base, just because we don't have as much flexibility into them. But once we go into level 5s again, it's off to the races. So Metal Greymon X from BT11. BT8 Metal Greymon is still a heck of a card. It's very, very good. And then also another copy of just talking about BT12 Metal Grey. And then we just care about the Black WarGreymon, so just 2 of each of these. If you like one more, go for it. I could see 3 copies of Black WarGrey X if you want to. and then Omni X, because that's the one I like the most. You can obviously play any version of Omni you want in this build. 2 Hades Force, you can maybe bump it to 3 if you really want to get Tamer Destruction, because I think that might be kind of strong in this format, and then 3 copies of X Antibody and the Tamers there. Egg is also the Coromon. Opponent's turn once per turn when opponent's Digimon is deleted. If this Digimon has Greymon in its name, you get to draw 1, which is a little bit harder to proc, I would say, but just the fact that it's a black Digi-Egg with Coromon in its name is pretty much all we really need. So there we go. So again, you can definitely play this deck with a red base. I wanted to build it with a red base, with a black base instead of a red one, because I've seen just 100 of those at this point. So something a little bit different. You guys can decide if you like the red or black base a little bit more, but I want to kind of just build this one. But these are all my list for this current format going on into it. I'm sure I'm going to get more down the road. So when I do, I'll make sure to make some videos for them, as well as just covering all the events that we're going to get in the BT12 format. But that should be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Let me know what decks and archetypes you guys have been playing and brewing with, and that will be it for me. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.